I get a great many scam emails in my various scambaiting mailboxes, and I respond to a lot of them to try to get the scammers chatting. Most of the time I do not succeed in having a long or particularly entertaining conversation. Here is a collection of some of those conversations that didn't really go the full distance. Let's try to go scambaiting. An unexpected email arrived from a scammer from a previous episode who really had trouble letting go. But I thought they were completely done, until this arrived. "Why do you die so soon?" 3 weeping emojis. "Oh my God, you have not received your money before you left the world. Oh my God," 3 more weeping emojis. "RIP, my friend, okay. May your soul rest in perfect peace, amen." Kinda weird. I replied, "I'm not dead anymore." The scammer asked, "So why are you keeping silent since?" Well, I think a more important question is, why did you think I was dead? Actually, 2 questions. If you thought I was dead, why did you email me about it? Okay, 3 questions. Do you often email dead people? The scammer didn't reply to this, at least not yet. Next, this which you might think is claiming to be from Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, but apparently not. It's from a different person whose first name is Jeff Bezos and whose surname is Cialmazon? Chalmazon? I hope I pronounced that right. "Your funds worth brackets $36.8 million US has been deposited through Federal Reserve Bank after our final meeting today. Contact him directly. Mr. Jeff Bezos, Chalmazon. Reconfirm your information to avoid wrong delivery, such as the kind of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. From US Treasury Department, because apparently that's something to do with Amazon." As directed, I wrote back, "Dear Mr. Chalmazon." What? But there was no reply. I got a loan offer. This one said, "If you have a valid business, investment or project to fund, please provide us with the business plan, executive summary, financial information, etc. for assessment and review. Please do not hesitate to contact us for possible business cooperation if you're interested." Because, of course, this is how high-profile investment business is done, by randomly emailing people to see if they want a huge capital investment deal. Very believable. I asked, "Is it a credible loan?" And I'm guessing the answer might be no, because they never replied. This enticing email arrived, supposedly from Jimmy Dodson. "Attention, please. Please let us start by apologizing to your humble and noble person. This is because your payment file, worth the total sum of $42 billion US, has just been brought to my desk for cancellation, which I have taken my time to look into your payment file to know why your overdue payment should be cancelled, and I found that it was because of your inability to secure your release approval order certificate. That is why they have resolved to have your payment of $42 billion US cancel." Of course, all they wanted was a small fee and my personal information. You know the kind. But I'm not very good at names or words or anything really when I'm Manuel, my main scambaiting persona. Dodson, Donaldson, same thing, reasoned Manuel, and asked, "OMG, are you Mr. Beast? I am your widest fan." Manuel didn't want to say biggest fan without knowing the units of measurement, in case you're wondering. Jimmy didn't reply, though. Next, this email from Andy Jonathan, 2 first names, sounds both urgent and important. "Greetings to you. I'm Andy Accor Jonathan. Please, if you don't mind, can I have a confidential word with you? It's very urgent and important." I replied, "Dear Andy," or should I call you Jonathan, "what is it you would like to talk about so urgently and importantly?" Andy responded with a very common scam template, a story about how we could apparently quite legally and without risk embezzle someone's unclaimed estate by falsely presenting me as the next of kin. I asked, "Is that legal?" Knowing full well that not only is it not legal to do this, it's also highly irrelevant because there is no deceased estate here to be claimed. The entire story is fabricated, perhaps with some real names and bits of story sprinkled in, but the notion there is a fund here to be claimed is false. It's just a ruse to try to get me to pay a fee. Andy, or Jonathan, didn't reply, so I wrote, "You're not very prompt at responding. I thought you said this was urgent." The scammer sent another template email, and as these things usually do, it emphasized 2 things. 1, how this was all supposedly completely legal and risk-free and straightforward. 2, how this must all be kept quietly undercover in case anything goes wrong or we get caught. I said, "It sounds like something that might be illegal. Can you tell me if it might be illegal, and if so, how much illegal?" The scammer just replied again with the same templated email, then this one, which looks like the next piece of the script. Lots of assurances about honesty and veiled threats about cancelling it if I'm not serious. I asked, Can you provide more details of the protocol? I'd like to see an official document confirming this is all legal and proper. Again, the scammer just sent the scripted reply. I replied, please provide the documentation. But this scammer was just plodding through the process and sent me the next scripted email, this one making a surprising request for my personal information. You know, the kind of information that you should never share, especially in this specific context. I said, I'm not doing that until you provide the formal documentation that outlines the legality of the process. Why can you not do this one simple thing? No response, so I gave a little nudge, and to my genuine surprise, the scammer replied, your email is well noted and I will send you the legal documents you requested today. I said, thank you. I look forward with great anticipation to seeing the documents, and I meant that quite sincerely. However, what turned up was not what I asked for. The scammer wrote, as I promised, attached here are my late client death certificate and account statement for your satisfaction. It's very entail, as I stated, that we work in honesty and trust to archive this transaction without delay or much stress. I look forward to your answer with the bank. And we'll just spend a moment looking at these two documents, which I'm certain nobody would ever suspect to be anything less than 100% genuine. I replied, those documents are really lovely and you should feel proud of them. Well done. But that's unfortunately not the document I was asking you for. I need the documentation that describes the protocol of the bank system that allows us to legally take ownership of a deceased estate. Like I said, it seems to me that this is something that might be illegal, so I'm looking for you to provide the document that says it's not. There was no response to that email, so I gave the scammer another little nudge. I had wondered and hoped if the scammer would hastily write some new document containing a badly written explanation of the supposed bank protocol that legalises embezzlement of a deceased estate, but perhaps that was too much to hope for. Instead, I got this. Attention dear, sir. In response to your email, I have given you the proof of my late client death certificate issued on his death. Statement of his account indicating his available balance in his account. Everything we're going to do with the bank is legal under the protocols of the bank system. This is my country, and I wouldn't do anything that will destroy me in this country. And you're not in the same country with me, so everything's legal. The bank knows me as my late client's lawyer, and I have reached out with them several times. Please, if you're capable and ready, let's strike this transaction. You have nothing to worry about, and it's 1,000 risk-free. We will only work according to the bank instruction, and I will back you up till we get it done. But if you're not ready and can't handle the process, please can you back out without much stress, please? I look forward to your answer with the bank if you wish to contact them. I argued, listen, you said this was according to protocol. Show me the protocol document, if there is one. The scammer counter-argued. Attention, dear. Sir, I don't have all the time in the world to be going back and forth with you. You'll have to contact the bank first before knowing how they work and what they will require from us. You have death and statement proof of fund, if it's not enough for you to establish contact with the bank first. Okay, anyway, time for the end game. I responded, I'm not asking for all the time in the world. Just a copy of a single document sent to me via email. It's not difficult. This is something a child could probably do. Perhaps not a very young child, I suppose. Are you not able to do this? Are you a small boy? And that was the end of that. Mrs. Veronica Vegas wrote, I am Mrs. Veronica Vegas from San Diego, California. I work with Binance Bitcoin Cooperation Center here in California. I write to inform you that we discovered a Bitcoin worth $900,000 in your name here in our office, which was transferred from the Office of the Treasury Department for compensation and was ordered to contact and inform you about it. You are to contact the office of Mr. Dennis Jarvis for the claim of this said amount. Write him with your name, cell phone number, and location, in other words, information you should never share, for proper identification. Thank you and stay blessed, Mrs. Veronica Vegas. I replied, I don't know anything about this, so I only have one question for now. What's this all about? But there was no response. Next, I am Lieutenant Mrs. Wilson Elizabeth, a U.S. soldier currently carrying out my duty in Syria. I have a proposal for you. Please get back to me via my email. Well, this is all so sudden. I don't know what to say. We'll come back to this in a moment, after looking at one of your frequently asked questions. This time it's a topic that I take very seriously, forced scamming. You may have heard in the news or elsewhere that there's a growing problem with forced scamming. That is, where innocent people, often who are in desperate situations at the start, are taken in by offers of employment. These people are then trafficked to labour camps where they're held captive and forced to work operating scams and are beaten or tortured if they're not sufficiently effective at getting money from victims. This is a genuine, ongoing issue, and it's something I do take very seriously. And if I became convinced that there was a fair likelihood of baiting scammers who are going to be beaten or otherwise abused or tortured on account of the runaround I give them, I could not, in good conscience, continue to do it. That would be the end of it. The argument that they're scammers and deserve what they get doesn't apply to people who are being coerced. So, if that's a real-world issue, and this is my genuine stance on it, why does this video exist, you may ask? In short, I don't think any of the scammers that I bait in these videos are coming from those forced scam operations. There is a tendency for people to imagine that all scams come from the same sorts of places. It's the same tendency that leads people to make frequent wrong assumptions about things like even the nationality of the scammers. The reality is more nuanced than that, but of course the internet doesn't do nuance very well. It is my understanding from looking into these things in some depth that the forced scamming operations are running different kinds of scams to the ones I commonly deal with. So not the advanced fee scams that have a relatively low payoff to effort ratio, but rather things like pig butchering scams and romance scams. Stuff that can be very strictly scripted, stuff that can be operated entirely over direct messaging platforms, and stuff that has a very lucrative payout. The bosses that are enslaving victims to run scams for them are starting at the most profitable end. It just isn't very likely that they'd want to mess around with email discussions. In short, I don't think forced scamming has overlapped with the advance fee email scams yet, and it may never do so. Now, I suppose people could make the same argument for other scammers who are living in such poor conditions that they feel they have no other choice but to scam. But I think there is a fairly sharp distinction between that, which is horrible enough, versus people who didn't ever choose to participate in scamming being beaten and tortured to make them do it. If I believed I was exacerbating the latter of those two scenarios, I would just stop. Now, that's not to say that allowing these forced scammers to continue scamming innocent victims is right. This is not a situation where there are just two things and one is right and the other wrong. But being the proximate cause of someone getting hurt is definitely wrong. Of course, my saying any of this will quite probably trigger some people, including some scammers if they happen to be watching, to try to argue that there is an overlap and that I should already stop. People love telling me my business, and I'm probably not going to engage in lengthy individual arguments about that. My limited time resources are better spent on my own research and in-depth investigation and decision-making rather than just galloping off after a series of assertions. So, I'm aware of forced scamming, and I am monitoring the situation closely, and I will follow my conscience. Back to the scam baiting. So a scammer claiming to be a soldier named Elizabeth had said something about a proposal, and I had responded with surprise. Elizabeth replied with a probably templated email. "Thank you for your immediate response. I am Lieutenant Mrs. Elizabeth Wilson, a US soldier currently here in Syria for peacekeeping missions. Am a widow. I have a proposal for you. I and some of my colleagues recovered huge amounts of money here in the last 2 weeks during an operation. We just shared the money some days ago, and I want to move mine to a safe place. Why I'm contacting you through this email is because this is the only means of communication I have here. I came across your email when I was searching for a random person online who I can trust with this proposal. I'm willing to offer you 40% of the total money, which is $7.8 million, if you're willing to do the deal with me, and I want you to know this is very legit. Looking forward to hearing from you." I asked, "Why me?" Elizabeth explained, "Don't panic, dear friend. It's 100% real and legitimate. It's all right. Let me narrate everything to you so that you will understand. I and my colleagues found the money in abandoned buildings here in Syria, and we are sent here by our 46th President, Joe Biden, for peacekeeping between the war going on here. And we have been here for over 2 years now. So back to your question, after sharing the money among us, my colleagues have already sent their own share of the money to their family for safety. But I'm an orphan. I have no family or friends who I should send the money to help me keep it safe until I'm back to the States. So I decided to go and search on Google to find someone who will help me out, and I came across your email address, and my heart tells me to offer you a proposal. So I did, and luckily for me, you responded back to my email." But I continued to inquire, "How did you come across my email address?" In an attempt to reassure me, scammer Elizabeth replied, "I told you earlier that I find it in a Google when I search for your name." Yeah, but that wasn't reassuring at all. I asked, "Why were you searching for my name?" "It's because I want you to help me receive my luggage," explained the scammer. "I understand that part," I said. "I'm asking you why you typed my name into Google. What made you do that, and how did you know what name it was?" Of course, the scammer won't have any good explanation for this because it's a lie, so they just try to brush it off, saying, "What do you mean? If you want to help me, please do, and stop having negative thoughts." But I pressed on, asking, "You said you searched for my name. How did you know my name to search for it? Explain yourself." What exactly did you type into Google in order to find my email address? The scammer went quiet, so I kept the conversation going. What's wrong with you? Snapped the scammer. Why are you stressing me? You told me earlier that you're not interested in my proposal, so stop texting me. I did not tell you that, I said. Perhaps you're confusing me with someone else. Did you search for any other names besides mine? Maybe one of those people told you they're not interested, but not me. I'm very interested. So the scammer just continued with the next chunk of text in the script. Thank you so much for your response to my mail. I'm very happy to receive your response. Like I told you in the first mail I sent to you, the total amount of the money in question is a sum of $7.8. Please, I'm going to trust you with everything as mentioned. Without we knowing each other, I believe you will not disappoint me. I need your trust on this because this money will be under your custody until I'm out of this horrible place and then fly down at once to your place. I will need the below information from you. And of course, it's the kind of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. And so it went on. Okay, I said, but why me? Also, if it's just $7 or $8, put it in your pocket. Nobody's going to question that. Because I think you are honest and faithful, asserted the scammer. I'm supposed to take that as a compliment, but even though I know it's just words, to me it sounds like the words of someone who's too trusting with strangers. I said, why do you think that? Have we met before? Still trying to figure out who you are and how you got my email. But that seems to have been enough for this scammer. The conversation ended there, although I did keep trying. Next, an email from Henry Penny, which name seems a bit redundant to me, but never mind. Henny said, I have access to very vital information that can be used to move huge amounts of money. If it was possible for me to do this alone, I would not have bothered contacting you. Ultimately, I need you to play an important role in the completion of this business transaction. Reply if you're willing to do the business with my direct official email address. Bit of a teaser, right? I replied, Dear Henny, what is it? If it's vital, I need to know it right now. Henny's scam was this. Hello, Mange Two. I hope my message did not make you apprehensive. My name is Mr. Henry Penny, and until the war broke out in Ukraine, I had worked for 14 years as an operational manager with a vault and courier services company's branch named Global Express Mailing Courier Service Limited, before I moved to the UK because of the war. And anyway, surprise, surprise, it goes on about an unclaimed fund that the scammer proposes we completely legitimately steal. I attach my international passport copy for your confidence in all our dealings. Now, I've redacted some of the unchanged details on this passport image because it does seem to be based on the stolen image of someone's real passport, but I do especially like the text alignment here and here and here, where the scammer has just tried to overlay their own fake details. Anyway, this scam was supposedly about moving large amounts of something or other. Money, that was it. I replied, I thought this was going to be about some sort of barrow or trolley or something like that. I have a need to move large amounts of various things, although not money, and I can't lift things like I used to. Do you have anything that might help with this? The scammer just replied, My dear, please, for us to proceed, we need to sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which will be binding us together in this transaction. 50% will be for you, and the balance 50% will be for me. Upon signing the MOU between us, I will involve the company's legal personal lawyer that will obtain an affidavit legal covering document on your behalf as the real beneficiary for immediate fund claim release with our deposited company from the Court of Justice. So I will like you to give me the following information, and of course you know the kind of information. I asked, what about the trolley? But I suppose the scam must not have included one because there was no reply. I received this email from Tyler Crack, or is it? My name is Johnson. I am outsourcing personnel, a professional investment advisor and a financial consultant to a privately owned but multi-branch conglomerate in Asia currently seeking investment opportunities in your unspecified country's location. The investor with a very high net worth is interested in an outright capital investment portfolio. Your profile falls under our interest and consideration. Let us leverage further on this if your capability matches our interest. Because, of course, this is how investment business is done, by emailing random people to see if they have the competencies and interest in whatever are your important projects. I asked, I have a question. May I ask it? One of my favourite things to do here is ask if I can ask a question without actually asking the question. It's a fantastic waste of time. Yes, please go ahead and ask the question. Thank you, Johnson, said Johnson. I asked, I just wanted to know who is Tyler Crack. Is he also a Johnson? But the scammer never answered. A week or so later, I got another scam email from Tyler Crack, but this time claiming to be Francis Horton. Something about embezzling gold and diamonds this time. I replied, OK. Next, perhaps one of the most badly written email openers I've seen. The The scam didn't go anywhere interesting, but I think we should just spend a moment or two enjoying this prose, which looks like it might be the result of multiple passes through machine translation. Urgent attention. Meanwhile, this is a cannot be scared before and after you may be a victim of scam by wrong people who paraded themselves on what they are not. So, because of this, the United Nations approved the Access Bank in Africa, where your fund originated, to process ATM MasterCard with valid cash of $15.5 million US dollars in your favor in order to compensate you, so that if you have been scammed before this, making your withdrawals from the ATM MasterCard, as you will be allowed in making withdrawals minimum of $25,000 US dollars, 20,000 USD per a day, or every 24 hours from any ATM machine around you. Your ATM MasterCard will be delivered to your address through courier delivery services within 2 days. FedEx Courier Company, space double comma, as it is the only company that we signed a contract with, so we can actually the delivery. So many complaints are rising up every day concerning the inability of the young courier company unable to make deliveries. My dear, there is the most payment that the courier companies anywhere in the world asks of the delivery fee and the security fee, which are very understanding, space double comma. Please you have be very careful in your dealings, and there is no such thing as IMF fee. Or documents, space double comma. United Nations has warned all the security agents to desist from an illegal act, as this fund of pruity, and as such no one has the power to stop your delivery. There was the usual request for personal information of the kind you should never share. Then the email went on. If you immediately in the delivery fee, you will in the delivery and security fee, space double full stop, which is just $25 US dollars. No one dares to ask for any more fees. Absolutely nothing to worry about this delivery. You will be surpluses on how everything will work out accordingly. Do not have doubt at all, okay? Everything will be fine, trust me. And if you are done above your information, you can handle well with your move to nearest ATM paying machine and apply your PIN code number 8221. To make your withdrawals without any delay. Am waiting to hear from you and your advice, space double full stop. Forward your details, congratulations. Remarkable. I replied, I understand every word. Which is true, I do understand all of the words, just not necessarily the order. The scammer did not reply. Next, an email from Oxfam, well, supposedly from Oxfam, just saying, you are chosen to receive a cash grant donations, Oxfam GB. Please respond for more details. If you're not already aware, Oxfam is a charity that aims to fight poverty and inequality around the world. I think there are just a few people in greater need of their services than me, so I asked, is this a mistake? Apparently not, though. Here's the scam. Attention, dear luck one. Compliment of the day to you. I am Dr. Greg Anthony, the National Secretary of Oxfam GB, United Kingdom. I acknowledge receipt of your email, and I would also like to congratulate you for being awarded a cash grant of £2 million GB pounds. As a charity donation promoted by Oxfam International, United Kingdom, in conjunction with the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Oxfam GB is an independent organisation registered as a charity in England and Wales. Oxfam GB is a member of Oxfam International with partners, volunteers, supporters and staff of many nationalities. We work on a global basis to overcome poverty and suffering. Oxfam GB UK is a multi-million pounds NGO group established with the objective of human growth, poverty alleviation, educational and community development. This is an act of charity and not a lottery, because there are a lot of lottery scams prevailing on the internet today. We, however, trust that with this donation your wealth of experience will be put into good use in setting up the much required developmental projects that will go a long way in alleviating the rate of poverty in your region. We are very certain of the fact that the funds will not only benefit you and your family, but also the bulk of the downtrodden all around you. Therefore, as much as I will like to personally congratulate you here, as the National Secretary of Oxfam GB, it is my duty to ensure that this donation process is done in a quiet manner, and for us to do that is for you to follow my instructions so that the funds can be disbursed successfully to you. To facilitate the disbursement of this noble donation to you, kindly fill the verification funds release form and also indicate to us your desired mode of payment from the 2 options below. And of course, they wanted the personal details. But interestingly, there were not 2 options presented. But the email did witter on about the usual scam stuff. I was a bit confused, so I wrote, I'm confused. I thought this was going to be a request for me to make a donation, but you're saying that you want to donate money to me. Are you sure you have this the right way round? There was no reply, so I tried something I thought would be sure to get a response. Just asked the scammer, how much do you want for the donation? But the scammer replied, nothing. I was very confused, and replied, I'm very confused. Can you help with that? Stop sending me email, asked the scammer. But I don't think that will help. And I continued to send emails, but the scammer didn't respond again after this. Next, greetings. I'm Richard Morris, and our firm specialises in financial and corporate law based in London, United Kingdom. I'm reaching out regarding a deceased American client who shared your unspecified last name. Please contact me for further details. Sincerely, Richard Morris. So this is going to be a scam where they say there's a dead person with the same surname as me, except all they know is the name that's on this scambaiting mailbox, Mange 2. So I asked, "Hi, Richard. What name would that be?" Scammer Richard replied from a different account named Richard, and seemed to be Rich Mored, not Richard Morris. Anyway, we'll get back to that. The scam was, as I anticipated, the old chestnut where some banker has found a fat account of a dead person and supposedly wants to present me as the next of kin. The highlights are, as usual, the sum of $25,200,000 United States dollars, something about legal documents, I'm sure there'll be a fee, and assurances about it being completely risk-free and a lawful arrangement. However, if you feel that this proposal goes against your personal or moral beliefs, please accept my sincere apologies, and if you are willing to proceed, kindly respond as soon as possible and reconfirm your full name for verification purposes. Of course, they would presumably already know my name if I was the same name as the next of kin. But despite all of this, I think there's only one important question here, so I asked it. Is your name Richard or Wretched? I think it's important we get that part cleared up before we proceed. Or are Wretched and Richard two different people who work in the same office? I am confused. Of course, we've seen this kind of error before, most famously with the Warosa and Barossa nonsense, but Scammer Wretched had a different explanation. It's a typing error. I am Richard Morris. I found this explanation astonishing. You typed your own name wrong, in at least 4 different places. How odd. That doesn't seem like something a grown adult would do. Are you a small boy? And that was the end of that, but again, I kept trying just in case. Next, an important update regarding President Trump Rehabilitation Fund. Important update regarding President Trump Rehabilitation Fund. Dear beneficiary, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to inform you that you have been approved to receive a sum of $20,500,000 from the President Donald Trump Rehabilitation Fund. This fund is part of the efforts to support individuals who have been affected and need assistance during these challenging times. Well, I think there's only really one thing I can say about this. This is exciting, but I think I'd prefer you to keep the funds for use in trying to rehabilitate him. I don't imagine it will be enough, but every penny helps, right? Next, one of those weird middleman procurement scams. Good day. Unilever invites you to supply the following pump listed below for our ongoing project in Ukraine. Send a quotation with the quantity required below. And the details were for some industrial pump. Compulsory. Kindly send your quotation to this email address for approval. I said, I don't know anything about this. I think you have dialed the wrong email number. The scammer pressed on with the script. Hi dear, I trust you're well today. You can still supply us from your country. And the rest of the email was the same template as before. In case you're wondering, these sorts of scams work by presenting the victim with a lucrative opportunity to intermediate in a supply chain, buying some supposedly cheap component and selling it to a company that will pay a high price for it. Of course, it's all a lie, but the effort level they had to put into this one was unusually high. The procurement document that the scammer attached actually doesn't look completely ridiculous, even though, as I say, it's a lie. 2 can play at that game, though, so I lied. There was no attachment on your email. But I have a wide variety of pumps currently in stock here, so not a problem to supply what you need. No response, so I decided to try their own weird incantation on them. Compulsory. Kindly provide the technical specifications of the pumps you require. The scammer tried again to send me the attachment, and succeeded again, and again I lied. There was no attachment. Perhaps you're experiencing some difficulty with your email. Is it similar to the one depicted below? Nothing, so I tried, mandatory, please tell me what is happening now. But the conversation was apparently not so compulsory after all. And I do get quite a lot of these procurement middleman scams. Here's another one. Good day. Sorry for intruding into your privacy. Can we work together as partners in supplying raw materials to our company? I am an employee of a multinational animal vaccine production company in the USA and UK working as the production manager. This business is very profitable. Looking forward to your response. Kindly reply to the corresponding email. I said, I'm not sure. What kind of materials would you need me to supply? The scammer replied with a very long and wordy, pre-written email. The substance is called vaclamazine liquid, 90% purity and higher, which is used for animal vaccines on racehorses, lions, hippopotamus, and other exotic animals. I have contact of the original Indian manufacturer who last provided us with the material in September 2024. Vaclamazine liquid is a raw material used in the production of animal, antiviral and retroviral health vaccine product like Vaclamazine paste 1.8% and this whole list of nonsense. The raw Vaclamazine liquid, herbal, is a very rare species that is not sold in the open market. Mr. Wong Yu Li, my late Chinese partner, was able to obtain the exact specifications from the original manufacturer in India and is not prohibited in any country in this world. The material can only be found in India and Fiji Island, but cheaper in India. So this is another common attribute of these scams. The thing they're asking me to assist in the procurement of is not a thing that exists. The name Vaclamazine is just something they made up, specifically because they don't want me to go off the rails and be able to source it from anywhere other than their fake supplier that they will later introduce me to, which is how they would get my money. So the notion is that the victim might Google the thing to be procured and come up blank, and then go along with their script. And that's more or less what happened. Well, almost. I could only find one Google result for Vaclamazine liquid. Can you tell me if the information in the link is valid? This is the search. The scammer explained, Vaclamazine liquid is a very rare species that is not sold in the open market, but my late partner was able to obtain the exact specifications from the original manufacturer in India. You cannot find it in Google. It is one of the reasons why the product is expensive. I counter-explained, I did find it in Google though. Did you check? Yes, said the scammer, you can't find it on Google. But I'm telling you, I did find it on Google, I repeated. And at this point, I think maybe the scammer must have clicked on my link. Oh, the search result. It goes here, where someone else posted a copy of a very similar scam. The scammer never replied again. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope that was a little bit of fun or something. Thanks for watching, stay safe from scams, and I hope to see you again soon.